Hello and welcome. What the fuck? We'll just restart that. Blip, 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 blip. Here we go. Hello and welcome to Three's a Crime, a true crime podcast. I'm Tori.
I'm Emily.
And I'm Lindsey.
And that's our intro.
Here we are professional podcasters.
We're podcasters, bitches.
House of Gucci.
House of Gucci.
I'm excited to hear this one.
I saw the movie last week. Very good. I recommend it. It's really, Lady Gaga is amazing, of course. And Adam Driver, I fell in love in the first second. You also need to see it for Jared Leto. He is in complete makeup being Paolo Gucci. I took so many notes, everybody.
Yes,
I want you to know.
she did.
And I hid my phone and put it in dark mode so nobody would see. But nobody gave a shit, so I didn't need to. In the first seconds of the movie, Adam is goddamn adorable.
Okay, I remember your first note being that.
Yeah. The first Jared Leto is the goddamn ridiculous dumb son of Al Pacino. This is before I couldn't figure out their names. Al Pacino ends up being Aldo.
Okay.
And I know nothing about the House of Gucci.
I don't either.
Story, so I don't. These names don't mean anything.
Yes,
to me.
that's
Same.
true. And spoilers if you don't watch the movie. If you want to watch the movie and then hear this, well, I had a real good note about Jared Leto saying I half the time can't handle him, but he's an amazing actor and he did a really good job and he's really funny. I got this. There are like 3 specials you can watch right now. There's 2 on Discovery Plus, and Dateline just did one. And there's a lot of Italian names. I'm going to do the best I can. I'll start with a quote by Patrizia, who Lady Gaga plays. Being a Gucci means I remember the past. So Maurizio Gucci, he was the heir to Gucci's $100 million dynasty. Gucci was one of the most prominent brands in the world, and he was Maurizio was said to be funny, nice, and he had a very sweet heart about him.
And Maurizio is played by
Adam Driver.
Okay, that's what I thought.
He's just like in the beginning he's very shy and just like humble. It took him a while to gain and build his confidence, but once he did, he was incredibly charming and charismatic. And before he kind of blossomed into his confidence, he was very shy and awkward. And after marrying, I'm just calling her Pat now, she helped him kind of really like come out of a shell and embrace his destiny as the Gucci heir. And when he was single, he was also primetime meat.
Was he ready to mingle?
He was
ready to mingle.
Ready to mingle with her.
So just so
tats,
we're clear, he was single and ready to mingle.
He was very single and ready to mingle.
Like, Emily, stop.
Okay, so Maurizio, I'm going to call him Mar. They met at a party, and she pretended that she didn't recognize that his last name was Gucci. And she says that after meeting at the party, he pursued her and they started dating.
Because this is like Gucci, right?
Yeah, Gucci? What is it?
Gucci? Gucci?
No,
Gucci?
like Gucci.
Chattahoochey
like
Gucci Gucci?
The brand.
Yes.
Yeah, I just said that in the beginning. I said it's a $100 million dynasty. Patrizia goes after him hard by steamrolling him with love and charm and her boobies, pretty much, and butt. She was incredibly beautiful, and he said she looked just like Elizabeth Taylor, which back then she kind of did. She was fun and sassy, and was a huge welcoming change to his life at that time. And they were considered the it couple in Italy in the fashion world.
She wasn't rich, was she, before she met him?
She did come from a rich family, but
I mean, nothing compared to Gucci.
Not elite in the social
Okay.
scene.
Stratus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
They would travel to New York 1 month and throw crazy expensive parties and then go back to Italy and do that all again. Apparently, they even met and socialized with the Kennedys.
Senators.
Oh,
So, they're like the great Gucci. Like the great Gatsby.
Yep. Yep. That's good.
Maybe I should just go to bed. Like, maybe I should just call it a fucking day. I was up really late last night with Michael, and I think I didn't get enough sleep at all.
I definitely did not.
It's fine. I was making terrifying sculptures instead.
In this interview that I watched, she said, as time went on, she meant all the New York that counts. They loved me. That's her quote. She was very happy about the statement about herself.
Well, all right.
So Pat's goal was to be La Signora Gucci, pretty much Queen of Gucci, like I just said. And she fucking took this very seriously. After being with Pat, Mar became a celebrity, and he would sweep into the room, and people were awed in his presence. He had like a swagger, real good swagger.
Ooh, swagger.
Yeah. Pat makes sure to give herself very many pats on the back for his success. As she said, quote, I think I was part of Maurizio's success by being a good wife, end quote. I'm going to quote her a lot because a lot of what she says is crazy. It's wild. I'm down for the self-confidence and loving yourself, but Jesus. I did everything I could to make him successful, what she said. She pushed him hard to be successful because she wanted to be successful as well. He realized he was dating the love of his life while they were hanging out, and they got married and had 2 daughters together. He proposed on their second date.
Wow.
So that's kind of where he was going. He was very young. He was young. He wasn't in charge of Gucci.
Gookie?
He was just hanging out, and I think he was studying to become a lawyer before. She says the greatest days of her life is when her daughters were born. I'm doubting this because of what happens later. I'm doubting that statement. I think I just said. When she was with Moritz, she was very, very happy. She says that a lot. I was very, very happy. March 27th, 1995, Maurizio is shot and killed in Milan, Italy.
Oh, shit.
As he's walking to work from his apartment. The doorman at his office building is like sweeping the steps, hanging out. And while he's doing that, he notices some dude standing across the street, kind of looking for someone to walk by, just being creepy. As Mar is walking up the stairs, the dude across the street comes up behind him and shoots him 3 times. After he falls to the ground, the shooter then shoots him in the head with a fatal shot.
The dude shooter.
So while this whole shit show is happening, the doorman is still watching it all happen, and then the shooter shoots him in the arm and runs away. Pat says she received a call early in the morning that Mar was shot. The police show up super quick to the crime scene, and a little bit after this, word has fucking spread that he was shot and killed. And so there's a lot of paparazzi there. A lot of just people looky-loo seeing what
Was this just like in the middle of like...
It's in the middle of like one of the most nicest successful business areas. It's like
that's like kind of what I'm picturing.
Really nice part of Milan. Yeah.
Like okay, wow.
It's real nice, full of riches.
And just right out in the open.
Yeah.
That's ballsy. Okay.
Yeah. And there's also, I saw footage of his daughter Allegra finding out that he was shot and killed, and she's like on the sidewalk bawling, and then they like take her away.
Oh, poor thing.
So Mar's close friend and advisor, Andrea Maranti, I hope that's right, is like, what in the fuck? He had a couple enemies, but Andrea couldn't think of why anyone would kill Mar. And he couldn't possibly understand why he was shot in the first place because he was such a good man in general, which is true. After the huge funeral for Mar, the police start the investigation. In Italy, the magistrate is both a prosecutor and investigator, unlike here where it's separated. So Carlo Nosorino was the leading magistrate in Milan. So he was in charge of the investigation and then the prosecution. Carlo had done many financial crimes in the beginning in his past. So he kind of goes for that first. So he thinks that maybe Mara was involved in a fucked up dirty business scheme. The Gucci brand was extremely popular in the fashion industry and in Italy, so he thinks it has to be something like that first. The doorman was one of the key witnesses to this murder, and he described how the shooter just fucking came up to Mara, shot him, and then left. Just like it was another day for the shooter at Hitman Job Corps.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Task complete. Let's go eat some hot dogs.
Right.
With the killer being such a professional killer, they're like, this dude Mar, Aaron King of Gucci, was fucking executed. Carlos said, quote, because he was such a complex person involved in various operations and with a lot of money to invest, the investigation at the beginning was directed in multiple directions. End quote. Carlo goes into a very deep dive into his business and the people who were around him and associated with him. This family, the Gucci family, a lot of bullshit down. A lot of bullshit went down between each other. And the whole family just were at each other's throats for using the brand for their own gain. So Carlos set up many task force with specific roles to investigate all these things in the case. So it was like
all these accusations.
He was like had wires with all of the Gucci family, like they were listening to everything.
Wow.
Like that.
They weren't fucking around.
No. Okay, so to figure out what the fuck is happening with the Gucci family, Carlos starts at the beginning of their Gucci story.
Oh.
Big Papa Gucci. That's what I call him.
Big Papa Gooch.
Big Papa Gucci. Oh,
Gooch. I haven't heard the word gooch since like 6th grade, and it just all came flooding back into my brain.
Flew right out of your mouth.
It was like gooch. Oh my god. Now we call it a taint now. Back in my day, we called it a gooch.
I've never heard that used for.
You've never heard of that? Oh my god. I learned that before I learned the word taint. I think it was girls had a taint and boys had a gooch, I think was what it was. That's your palate cleanser.
Big Papa Gucci. Okay, Big Papa Gucci. That was his name. Gucci. Gucci was said to be a very nice man, and he opened up a little leather and luggage shop in Florence. He saw all the rich people traveling with their expensive luggage and was like, dog, I'm going to get on that fucking shit.
Yeah.
So obviously his business was fucking thriving.
Yeah.
And Gucci was the first Italian brand name before Armani and before Valentino.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
It was like, it's very old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Maurizio was born in 1948, and his mother died when he was just 5 years old. Mar was told that he had to conform and do the things a certain way because he was a Gucci. And his dad, even though he was in the Gucci family, was a silent film actor, and that's how he met Maurizio's mother.
Oh.
And he was like they were deeply in love, and so when she died, it looked like kind of the dad kind of checked out a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, so here are the basics of the family and the players of wanting Gucci power. You have Big Papa Gucci, and he had 2 sons, Aldo and Rodolfo. Aldo had fucking 5 kids.
Ooh.
Rodolfo, who is in charge of, who lost his wife, only has 1, and that's Maurizio.
Okay.
So this family, they said this family was truly a real life version of the classic Italian saying about family businesses, which is you have the creator of the business, and then the second generation, Aldo and Rodolfo, expands the business, and then the third generation usually destroys it. That's kind of
well,
like
I mean, that's not...
yeah. So the 2 brothers, Aldo and Rodolfo, I'll just call them Rod, they split the company 50-50. So it seems to be going well so far. Rodolfo stayed in Italy working on the business while Aldo was in charge of, which is Al Pacino.
Okay.
Al Pacino's Aldo. He's really good too. And Jeffrey Irons is Maurizio's dad.
Did you guys watch Hunters?
Mm-hmm.
That was a good show. Al Pacino was really good in that show. Psycho killer. Qu'est-ce que c'est?
I was waiting for you to finish.
Sorry.
No, I was waiting for her to finish.
She knew I would.
You knew that she
Yeah.
couldn't
I
not.
couldn't, like
Yeah.
any of those like don't sing challenges on TikTok, couldn't do it.
Far
No.
better.
Aldo was in charge of expanding the business into new international markets. In 1970, Milan, there was an elite crowd, of course, that was rich and sophisticated. Rodolfo wanted Mar to find an elite lady from this world, so when he brought Pat home around as a potential wife, Rodolfo was not happy with this. He told the family to treat her as, quote, inappropriate.
Oh.
Yeah, so everybody turned their back on
Well, fuck
both of
you.
them.
Well, that's not very nice.
No. So she was seen as an outsider and a class climber. Before they got married, Rodolfo went to the church that they were to be wed in and asked the cardinal not to marry them. Like, he went that
Goodness.
far.
Man, he was
He was not
determined.
having that.
Yeah. So Mar standing up to his father was his first step into being his own man. Rod was like, nope. So he kicked him out of his home and the company.
Wow.
And for years, they didn't talk to each other.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
And
a
after
bummer.
being kicked out, he got a job under her dad's truck company that he had, cleaning buses and stuff. He had a really successful company.
Wow.
And so he was just doing...
So he wasn't piggybacking so much on the Gucci name.
No.
He was
Well,
like...
he was cut off.
Right. So he
So,
was
yeah, he
willing
didn't-
to like make his own money.
Yeah. He didn't want any part of the family at that point. Like, he didn't want
Right.
to become like that, I think.
Right. Got it.
Okay, so now we have Mar and Pat married and kind of set against the rest of the family.
Us against the world.
Yes. The other brother, older brother, Al Pacino,
Mhm.
then invites them to New York in 1975. Aldo loved Maurizio, and they became super close while Mar was estranged from his dad. Aldo and Pat would have espresso together, and she would like manipulate him and
Oh,
kind
well.
of go in to spending getting time with him and bring Maurizio with, even though he didn't really want to come, to get him back into Gucci.
Oh. She was like setting up these like,
Yeah, she would meet with.
let's hang out, but
yeah, let's
just to...
talk about family.
Yeah.
and then
Got it.
they would kind
'Cause
of
she wants the
conspire
Gucci
to
name.
bring. What?
Because she wants the Gucci name.
Absolutely.
Got it.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah.
God damn it, Lady Gaga.
I know.
You're so great. Why'd you have to do that?
I know. Gaga.
Gaga.
Gaga. Gaga.
Oh my god. Tell me you're
That was
tired without
so-
telling me you're tired. All three of us are like,
Gaga.
Gaga. Gaga. Gaga. What the fuck? What the fuck was that?
Right?
Do it again.
You yell
I
at
don't
us
think
when
I
I go.
can.
I
I don't like it.
And
my
you
God.
just did the same thing.
Oh
but
my god, that
in
was
Tori.
terrible.
That was great.
Oh my god.
Aldo.
Alan Alda.
I love Alan Alda.
Who doesn't love him?
It's true.
Right.
Aldo wanted to bring him into the business, and he thought that Mar was talented and he had so much potential to be the best chance of success for the third Gucci generation. Potential.
He seems like he has like a level head. You know what I mean?
does.
Like he could have
Until
He doesn't.
until he
gets the money. In the beginning, I don't know if I put this in here, but Rodolfo warns Patrizia, saying once he gets that money, he's a different person. So you better watch the fuck out.
Right.
bummer.
While in New York, the couple, so they meet up with him in New York. The couple is in a true honeymoon phase, and Mar is building confidence in himself as he's no longer dependent on his father for everything anymore.
Right.
So he and Pat are in super love, and they're banging all around.
Okay, question. So I know his father basically disowned him and kicked him out of the company. But did he, was his father still giving him money? Or
No.
So
He was totally cut off.
So how was he?
He had to go move in with Patrizia and
Lady
her
Gaga.
family.
Okay,
because he
so
could-
now they're living basically off of her family money.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
got
But
it.
he was
That's what I
he was still
curious.
working though, right? He was still had that company.
She worked for him every now and then for her dad.
Right, got it.
Okay.
That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Got
I
it.
was just
Yeah.
curious, what they were living off of.
In the beginning, they were just like a normal couple,
Mhm.
Right.
pretty much. I wrote this. There's a scene in the movie where they fucking bang on a desk.
Oh.
And it is fucking hottish. Like, Andrea is like kind of dirty from cleaning, but the way she, like, you can really tell Gaga pushed how much Patrizia probably used sex as a manipulation tool.
Right.
Because, like, it's rough sex, but then fucking Patrizia goes hard trying to bang him harder, like, to bring more passion. So I thought that was really interesting. So while living in New York, Pat is super into the American way of life. They fly and travel all over the U.S. and party and hang out with all these fabulous people. Okay, so during these hangouts, Patrizia meets Pina Arima. I don't know.
I don't know what just
Her name is Pina.
Pina.
P-I-N-A. And Salma Hayek plays Pina.
Okay. Is it pronounced Pina or
P-I-N-A? Yeah.
Okay.
That's what everybody said in Italian as well. Pina.
She's not Italian.
Pina?
No. Salma Hayek.
No. No,
you said Pina so many times just in that like 14-second time frame that it has no meaning. It's just Pina. Was it Pina?
Like a pina colada.
Pina.
So, some say that Pina, she was a psychic and tarot card reader, and her and Pat become BFFs.
Okay.
Like in the movie, Patrizia sees Pina's like live broadcast of like, I'm a psychic, call me now and I'll read your cards, and then she calls and then they kind of like become friends.
Okay.
I'm not sure why they did like that, but it was interesting. So then Pina also becomes Maurizio's and Patrizia's advisor.
Okay.
So apparently he was incredibly superstitious and would consult Pina before making any important business decision.
That usually doesn't work out very well.
Pina told Maurizio, don't go to this Hong Kong business trip. Don't fly on this plane.
Oh,
and so he told his advisor, he was like, I can't go.
I'd listen to my... If they told me not to fly on a plane, though, I'd be like, yeah, no, I'm not going.
But like
sorry.
from a businessman saying, I can't go because this
lady.
Right.
So I thought that was interesting. That's not in the movie in any way at all.
Well.
But see, this is why it's called The Real.
It's true. She also helped Pat to, quote, destroy my problems with a sense of humor. It's a Patrizia quote.
Okay.
Yeah. So as Mar is fucking thriving under Aldo's mentorship, his 5 kids become jealous and pissed with all the attention that Maurizio is getting. All of them had amazing visions for the company, and they all believed themselves to be brilliant at marketing and being the best Gucci there was. When Rodolfo dies, Mar is then his only heir, inherits 50 shares of the Gucci brand, like 50% of it.
Okay.
He becomes the single largest shareholder of Gucci. And so when Mar inherited his part of the company, he was like, bro, I'm in charge now, and you all, his family, have to listen to me. Pat says when he inherited his shares, he lost his mind. He kind of did. So Maurizio started a legal war with Aldo, trying to get him and the rest of the family sell him the rest of the shares.
Okay.
So the 5 kids each had a percentage along with Aldo.
Got it.
Okay.
And so Aldo had only, at that point, 16.7% of his shares invested with Gucci. So he sold it. He sold it to Maurizio. And then Aldo had to go to jail for tax evasion. For a year and a day.
Okay. That's weird. That's 366 days.
Yeah.
All right. Odd.
Yeah.
They're like, you think you're getting out of here in a year, but alas. We'll have
one more
day.
One more.
I'm so funny.
During the Gucci shit show, one of Aldo's sons, Paolo, he was the best at stirring all the Gucci shit up.
He was a pot stirrer.
This is Jared Leto.
Jared Leto.
Character. And like plays it really like a comedian kind of. And from some of the stuff I've seen of the real Paolo, he was fucking a wild, weird guy.
Oh, so Jared Leto was a good character choice or a good actor.
Unfortunately, he did a good job. Yeah.
What about Jared Leto's understudy? My husband's name on what's the game that our husbands play together?
Path of Exile.
Path of Exile. We're both married to very nerdy people, so they play Path of Exile together. And my husband's name, I just learned, is Jared Leto's understudy.
Yep. Bryn likes to tell me when he's on there.
Ridiculous.
I'm like, why didn't they play together?
Ridiculous.
He's higher level than me. That's Bryn. That's what Bryn says.
It's with me and Tori with best fiends. He's like, I'm gonna play with him. He's on a higher level. That's so funny. Oh my god.
Paolo was the center of any fight. It was usually him. He believed so truly that he was an amazing designer and wanted his family to see that in him as well. In the movie, Paolo shows a lot of his designs to Rodolfo before Rodolfo dies. And Rodolfo's just like, are you fucking serious right now?
Oh.
No.
Dear.
Like, shuts him the fuck down, which I'm
Ouch.
sure probably did happen. Because Rodolfo was very ruthless with business.
And who plays Rodolfo?
Jeremy Irons.
Okay.
Okay, so Maurizio had decided to try to buy the shares of the three sons of Aldo because apparently you're only heir to the Gucci throne if you were a dude.
Well,
The the girls got shit.
Don't we usually get shit?
Yeah,
Like,
and I'm wondering if it
Not a
was like a
shocker.
very Italian thing or European or I don't know. Okay, so Maurizio tells his advisor, BFF Jude Andrea, that I talked about earlier, that he felt predestined to be the one in charge of Gucci. So they worked up a plan to get the brothers to sign their shares over to him, but not letting them know that it was Maurizio buying them.
That's shady.
So they had Andrea go and talk to each brother saying he'd like to invest in the business, and they would sign over their shares. And when they came to Paolo to see if he would sell his shares, he was in a really dire financial situation. And he was not doing well.
And so, this is Jared Leto,
This is Jared Leto, and he gladly signed it away. And so then Aldo comes back from...
Aldo Pacino
comes from jail, and Paolo picks him up, and he tells him that he sold his shares, and Aldo just loses his shit because he's like, well, what's the point then of me having any? All of my sons don't.
Right.
So that like convinces him to sell it to them. To Andre, not Maurizio.
okay.
They didn't know that part.
Got it.
Aldo sells his shares. So when the family finds out that Maurizio was the one who bought the shares, they were fucking devastated. They were so betrayed.
Yeah. Pissed.
They were not happy. And especially Aldo, who mentored Maurizio.
Yeah, he was like
And
a
they're-
second father to
Yeah.
him.
Yeah, and he just kind of flips. And Rodolfo was correct when he got that money.
Oh my god, it's just like Squid Game. Right? It's just like Squid Game. That guy that threw our favorite kid under the bus for money.
Yeah, that was
a real bummer.
It was.
That was. So all of this is a lot of motive to want to kill Maurizio.
Right.
And when Carlo and his team talked with Patrizia, she answered him, and he found out they were separated and were only communicating at that time through their divorce lawyers.
Oh.
And she had an alibi.
Okay. So, but at this point,
I'm about to
now
tell
that
you.
he has the money.
Yes.
No, I'm just
I'm
clarifying.
just yeah.
Right? Like, now that he has
He
the money,
has the
now
Gucci
she's
money.
divorcing him.
No.
Oh.
No.
Oh.
No.
It just seems interesting that, like, they were all hot and heavy.
Patrizia, her ambitions with Gucci were very many of them.
Mm-hmm.
She wanted to be Mrs. Gucci and Gucci's CEO.
Oh, well.
She would come into Maurizio's office when he was there and make scenes in front of the other employees demanding her fucking shit.
Wow.
Just demanding anything she wanted apparently that day or
Okay.
stuff.
Diva.
Her pushing for her need for power was the thing that really finally pushed him away.
Mm-hmm.
After being married 12 years, Their marriage deteriorated. He packed a small suitcase one day and told Pat he had a small trip to Florence planned. He just leaves. And the next day, one of Maurizio and Pat's friend calls Pat and says, quote, "I need to speak to you in person. I have some shit news." I added the shit. When they meet up, the friend is like, "He's gone. He's not coming back. He's separating from you." And, like, I know Pat is a wild woman, but have some fucking balls.
Right.
And he would do this all the time. It's like, especially in his business things, he would have people do the dirty work for him.
Mm-hmm.
So he wouldn't
Of course.
have to. And she wasn't even told outright, "I'm separating from you. Here's what's going to happen." So it was just like, he's gone.
Broken up with just like I did.
Like, ghosted.
Yeah. You don't ghost someone.
Pat refused to even acknowledge the separation because she felt that she was doing everything for him and Gucci. So why this isn't real?
Mm-hmm. Denial is not just a river in Egypt.
Where
The
are
dad
you?
jokes
So many
are,
dad
like,
jokes. They
so
are on
prevalent
fire
today.
today.
There
Yeah.
are a lot of them.
I'm sorry.
As Mar grew up and was the main dude of Gucci, he realized how much Pat was dependent on him and Gucci alone. And he realized how much control she had in his life. When they were younger, he was very much in need of that control, which is why I think it worked for so long. But when he grew up and got more responsibility with the Gucci, he was like, "Well, shit, I can't fucking do this shit anymore." And she was a bully and she was an asshole to him. She was not nice.
Oh.
Everybody said she was a fucking bitch to him.
Yikes.
So when he left her, he realized now that he's free, and he felt like he was finally able to focus on turning Gucci around.
Mm.
Had it faltered?
It wasn't doing that well. I'll tell you in a minute.
Okay.
Now Mar starts working on his vision for Gucci. By the 70s to mid-late 80s, Gucci had licensed their brand and logo to any cheap manufacturer.
Oh my god.
So there were Gucci drinking glasses, towels, placemats, pencil holder for your desk.
That's like super not great for your business when you're trying to be the bougiest.
Well, and that's like,
that's what Maurizio wanted to do.
But
He was like,
that's what Von Dutch did.
But like Jimmy Choo did it, and Isaac Mizrahi. Mizrahi was like on his way to like really being, and then he just was like, "I'm gonna make stuff for QVC and Target."
Isaac Mizrahi stuff from QVC all the time.
And Vera Wang. They all did. They all
I would
came
do
out
Target
with
first. If I was a rich designer, I'd get a Target deal. But yeah,
it makes them probably equally, if not more, money. But it
The exclusivity is what
right
makes Gucci Gucci.
Exactly.
Again, it's the same thing with Von Dutch again, where when you move out of your market of what you've started, like sure, it gets you more exposure and makes you more money, but like
then you lose
once it's available to everybody, it's not exclusive anymore.
There were playing cards and vases.
Vases.
I
Okay,
wonder
vases,
I wonder now if vintage Gucci, which would have been cheap at the time.
Oh, it's very expensive now.
Now, yeah.
Very expensive. Also, now Gucci sells plates and coffee pots, but they're like $1,100 for a plate. So
every time I see stuff like that, I'm keeping up with the Kardashians. I Google it to see how much it is. They'll buy like
wild.
Hermes plates and stuff.
Oh
it's
my
like
God.
a $22,000.
Like Dorit had that on the Housewives,
Yes.
and they were like, she can't afford that.
Fucking Dorit, I forgot about her.
Oh, Dorit. So, like all of this stuff, you could buy it through any Gucci store in every mall at that point. And he wanted to bring the company back to its origins of high luxury items. So he hires a whole new marketing team and they start the overhaul. But here's the other side. The licensing of their brand brought in tens of millions in sales.
Oh.
Right.
So Aldo warned him that by removing this stuff, they're going to be fucked. And it seems that in his hurry to change the vision of the company, he didn't do it gradually. He just stopped it. And then they started to hemorrhage money. because that
Shit.
was their money-making thing.
Wow.
And now they couldn't pay the bills or pay people who worked for them. But while all of this was going down, Maurizio was fucking living like it's 1999 and racked up $40 million in debt.
$40 million in debt.
Wow.
He bought, I'll tell you.
I don't even understand that.
But see, when you have money, they'll extend all kinds of credit lines that
Yep.
normal people wouldn't get, and so
Yep.
you can get yourself into trouble
Get yourself
quick.
fucked.
Because he was so used to luxury, he would keep... He just
did
kept
not
living
live
that
within
life.
his means. He kept living outside of
Yes,
his means.
exactly. Like, he had a $7 million apartment he had to redone.
Oh,
Like, he
my
bought a
God.
sailboat and redid it and was like $25 million to do. He wasn't thinking. So if you feel bad about any debt you have, just remember that even
My God.
Maurizio,
At least
a
it's
millionaire, was
At
in
least it's not 40
debt.
million.
Yeah.
Seriously. Could you imagine?
Okay, so now he's facing bankruptcy and is forced to sell the company.
Mm-hmm.
So he's no longer able to get Gucci to his division, and for the first time, Gucci is no longer owned by a Gucci.
Wow.
And it is still no longer owned by a Gucci.
Wow.
So wait, so his family couldn't even buy it back.
They had to sell it.
Not
Or
a-
did they not want it back after all
They
that?
probably didn't want it back. Or there were maybe something in the contract. I'm not sure.
Wow.
Yeah. He sold the company for $200 million.
$200 million?
$200 million.
That's like nothing. I mean, it's... Let me rephrase. Well, at the time, it might have been worth $200
Yeah, the
million,
80s.
you know?
In the
but
80s,
it's
late
like when you
80s.
think about it now, like if they were to sell
Now,
Gucci...
It would be
Billions.
billions.
Yeah,
it
that's
would-
why I'm
yeah.
like, $200 million, that's nothing.
Yeah.
So then...
She's like,
the
I've
only
got a
time
couple
I will-
million in my bank account, so that's like nothing.
Yeah.
It is fucking
Fingers
me
crossed.
rephrase.
Let's put it out into the universe.
Yeah,
Millionaires.
exactly.
Millions.
Millions.
So after losing the company, it seems to be the final poke in the ass for Pat to lose her fucking shit.
Wow.
She always aspired to be the La Signora Gucci. I hope I said it right. She wanted to be the motherfucking queen bitch.
Queen bit.
And now her Gucci wasn't even owned by a Gucci. And now that he has a shit ton of money again, he's back out spending it. The
And she's like, some of that's going to be mine.
Yeah, and they had 2 daughters.
Right.
They don't talk about the daughters a lot, and I don't blame them.
Right.
But like, no,
Like, you're
both of
spending
these
their inheritance.
Yeah, these people had no thoughts for these poor girls at all.
That's terrible.
Well, you know, and the other thing too, though, is like when you're that rich, people give you things,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
And so you lose, I think, all concept of what money
Yeah.
is,
Mhm.
and you just are like, well, I want this, so I'm just gonna have it, and like you forget that, like, well, no, but
There's
somebody has to
consequences.
pay for
Yeah.
that. You
Yes,
know,
exactly.
and things depreciate in
Yeah.
value. So
The investigation of Carlo, back to that, finds that all of the financial shit Maurizio did was legal as it could be.
Mm.
So that they're out of that. So, and they also wiretapped the Gucci family and found nothing. I think in Italy you can wiretap anyone without something.
Goodness.
I'm not sure. They didn't
Without
say,
like a warrant or anything.
They didn't say that. We're like, oh, we tapped that. I went, we got
They
that.
weren't like,
Mind that.
we
And
have
I'm
this
like,
rule
what?
that you guys don't have anywhere else. Where
Right.
We did this.
So I'm curious if that's true. I'm not sure. So now it's time for Carlo to dig into the personal life of Maurizio. The time of Mar being single, quote unquote, after leaving Pat, he's banging them bitches. He's having a good fucking time. I don't blame him.
Getting it.
There was one special lady, Paola Franchi. I don't know if I said that right. She was also part of a wealthy Italian Milan social. What? She was a part of the wealthy Italian Milan social scene.
Gotcha.
This is the woman that Maurizio's dad wanted him to marry in the first place.
Oh.
She
okay.
was rich, came from a rich family. She was tall, thin, blonde, and she was very elegant.
Okay.
The very opposite of Pat.
Yeah.
Who's short, she's dark brown hair, tan skin, and she's got some good old junk in her trunk. She's got a real nice ass.
Good.
And Gaga's ass in the movie is beautiful, and I think they did add padding, but that, like,
I'm
there's a
excited.
whole scene where you have to look at her ass because she's using it as part of this. So it's just like, god damn.
God damn.
I appreciate a good ass.
Dude,
Some
I
have one.
appreciate good boobs.
Yes.
So, you know.
Although her and Maurizio were separated for years, she was still Mrs. Gucci in her head and a part of the Milan social elite scene of money and shit. Her position in this world was her everything, and she still introduced herself as Mrs. Gucci. Maurizio buys a huge fucking rich apartment on the best street in the best neighborhood in Milan and moves Paola in with him. So this set Pat into a fucking fury frenzy of jealousy.
Oh, I bet.
And she was terrified that they would have a child.
Oh.
Because then her daughters wouldn't get
Right.
Yeah.
Especially if he had a male child.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Randomly one night, the police get a call from a guy who knows who killed Maurizio.
Oh, okay.
This dude was at a bar and started talking with a stranger, and this poor dude got all the fucking tea on the hit on Maurizio.
Shit.
Dude,
Man, people always talk, dude.
Dude realizes that he's in fucking danger because he talked to a hitman, and now he knows too much, so he calls the police. So the police interrogate the dude and find out that there are 4 people who are involved in his death.
Oh my God.
We have a pizzeria owner, a mechanic, a porter at a cheap hotel, and a Pina.
Oh, Pina was part of it too. But here's, like, that's weird, though, that they're all people, like, working class people.
That is odd.
Yeah,
Well, they'd be the easiest ones to pay off, though.
exactly.
No, I know, but I'm
But
just
yeah.
saying, like, if they're the masterminds, like, why were they...
Well, they weren't real the master.
They were
okay.
just the ones who did
Who
it.
actually
They were the
carried
ones
it
who
out.
did
like,
it.
got it.
Okay.
Yeah. I said, Pina, remember
Pina,
her.
Pina.
Pat's BFF's psychic and close confidant.
Yep.
So with all of this information...
Didn't see that coming, though.
No. Carlo bugged all 4 people's cars and had them followed. And they start to talk about the murder and how they haven't been paid yet. This evidence then leads Carlo and his team to identify the 4 people. People. Carlo says, quote, the protagonists of the murder of Gucci look like they came out of a film, an Italian comedy. The pictures you'll see in the Instagram, it's wild.
Okay.
How these people came to be. I don't even know. So after arresting the 4 people and interrogating them all, they all say Patrizia ordered the hit.
Oh.
The story that comes from the interrogation of Pat and Mar is that Pat and Maurizio had a terrible relationship and they were always fighting, and the lawyers were the in-between people for them. They never talked to each other, just the lawyers.
Through the lawyers.
And Pat seemed to fixate on Paola and refused to see her become a La Signora Gucci.
Right.
Pat is not shy about any of this hate and anger, and she's also telling everybody around her.
Wow.
She becomes obsessed with wanting Maurizio dead, going around Milan asking anyone during social activities, quote, who's going to kill Maurizio for me?
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's
Like
not right.
the staff, like it was not a secret. Pat and Pina, they work on a plan to kill Maurizio. She asks Pina to find a hitman for the murder. Pina says she's going to ask a friend to see if they could find somebody. Pina and Pat are having conversations on the phone with each other about how much money is needed to pay the killer, but they would talk about it in meters of fabric.
I mean, that's fascinating.
So they would say, I need 10,000 to 40,000 lira for the fabric for the curtains. And then Pat would also talk she would also talk about her hate for Maurizio, and they really bonded over the hate together. Here's the plan that came up. So there's a getaway driver and the hitman get in a car and they go to where he is at the time. Maurizio is walking up the steps to his office and the hitman walks up and shoots him in the head, and then he runs to the car because it's a getaway driver.
Right.
And they drive away. As soon as this happens, Pat goes to Maurizio's apartment, kicks out as soon as he dies. She goes to his apartment and kicks out Paola and says, this is my fucking house now. Kicks her out. Yeah.
Because she is still Mrs. Gucci, right?
Yep. Because they never got a legal divorce. And didn't invite Paola to the funeral.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. Pat goes right back into being Mrs. Gucci, and she gave no fucks. She sat in the front in between her daughters with like a black veil, very dramatic, sunglasses, just Jesus Christ. So with all this, Carlo then gets his team together and they go arrest her. They arrive at Patrizia's home at 4:30 in the morning, where her daughters also live. He says, "You're under arrest for the murder of Maurizio."
For the murder.
And Pat says that Carlo told her to confess it right away. Alessandra, Pat's older daughter, then grabs her by the throat and is like, "Is this fucking true?"
Grabs her mother by the throat?
Yep. And then, Pat says, "No, it's not." But, Patrizia...
No, it's not.
Yeah, exactly. She asks for a couple minutes to get dressed, and she comes back out in a full mink fur coat and puts her sunglasses on, and she's like, "I'm ready to go to the station." When I got to the police station, they told her no fur coats were allowed. She was very upset about this.
Wow.
Yeah. She only had fur coats, she said.
Oh my god.
There's more.
I'm just picturing Lady Gaga as this person. It makes me just want to watch the movie even more.
Oh, it's so good. After it's announced that she was arrested for the murder, the Gucci family is shocked, and the Italian press goes fucking wild and calling her the Black Widow and all other things. They couldn't believe that Pat, who has children they both love with Maurizio, that she would go to that extent to hurt her family. Mm-hmm. But they apparently don't know her that well. In May 1988, the trial starts, and it's a media frenzy, and the whole world is watching. There was like a Diane Sawyer special, and there was also one done before Maurizio died. I watched him. It was interesting. Carlo decides to pursue a life sentence for her because he's prosecution and he can. Mm-hmm. And when she takes the stand in her own defense, she denies that she would ever want to kill him. She said that they made a lot of threats against each other, but that she would never put the order out to kill him. Carlo said that she was great at arguing and really tried to sell her only defense was that they did not get along, but she wouldn't ever order that. She said, quote, "It's true. I threatened Maurizio multiple times, even publicly. And because of this, these people killed Maurizio." So she has flipped on Pina and those other things.
Oh, man.
Shocker.
Well, see, when you get multiple people involved, all you need is one flipper.
Yep.
One flipper.
It's true.
Listen, if you're in a group and you've done something, you be the first flipper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sorry, but I'm getting the best deal out of all of us.
It's true. So after a 6-month trial, the jury took only 7 hours to find Patrizia guilty of premeditated murder, and she's sentenced to 29 years. Pat fucking throws Pina under the bus, saying that it was all her idea to kill Maurizio to get rid of all of Pat's problems. Pat says, quote, "Instead, she gave me more problems." The court, though, realized that the whole Pina's fault story was not correct, and that it was all
not even
Pat.
They're like, no.
The judge said at the end of the trial, quote, "Maurizio Gucci died not for the man he was, but for what he had." Patrizia spent 18 years in Milan's San Vittore prison. Pina and Pat were in the same jail for 15 of them.
Oh.
They were friends. They had a great time.
Wow.
So Pina forgave her for throwing her under the bus?
I don't know. This is what Pat says. So,
right.
Like, the lawyer even got it so Pat could have a therapy pet that was a ferret. A ferret therapy pet.
Fucking, oh my god.
Did
she wear it since she wasn't allowed to have fur coats?
Oh!
No, apparently she was devastated when the ferret passed. So Pat was required to find a job as a condition of her parole, and she turned down her first offer of release in 2011, according to the Italian press, because their very idea of working horrified her. She said, quote, "I've never worked in my life, and I don't intend to start now."
Wow.
She is now out of prison, but is being sued by her mother, and she sued her daughters.
Oh my god.
She said that they wrongly took money from her while she was in prison. In 2018, 2019, the daughters ended all contact with their mom.
Well, I mean, she shot their dad, so...
Yeah. Pat is still seen around Milan to this day with her pet parrot on her shoulder.
Oh, man, I bet she's got to be a wackadoo at this point.
So ultimately, though, Maurizio's vision for Gucci was accomplished. Even though he wasn't the one in charge of it, it still became what he dreamed it to be. Patrizia has denied to this day that she was involved in killing Maurizio. When she was called the morning he was shot, she says, quote, "I was happy because all of my problems were gone. And then I started to feel very lost. Why? Because I didn't have anyone to argue with." End quote.
Wow.
There's a couple more.
She's a piece of work.
Press people asked Patrizia, "Why did you hire a hitman to kill Maurizio? Why didn't you shoot him yourself?" And she said, "My eyesight is not so good. I didn't want to miss." We'll close this with her fucking quote. "I think money can buy happiness. It's better to cry in a Rolls Royce than cry on a bicycle. I'm not saying I'm guilty. I'm not saying I'm innocent. But I am not guilty." End quote.
Oh my god.
Word for word.
And that's House of Gucci.
That's the House of Gucci.
Wow.
Ugh.
What a quote.
Yeah.
Wow.
There are more.
Yikes,
But
that
I was
one.
like, these are...
That hurt.
I
a
mean,
little.
she's not wrong about
No,
crying on a bike versus...
it's true.
I mean, well, technically I wouldn't know. I've never cried in a Rolls, but...
Same.
That's
So
House of Gucci, everybody.
go watch House of Gucci.
Watch it. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I love you. Remember who you are and what you represent, you bitch. And if you represent Gucci, don't be a bitch.
Don't be a
Don't
bitch.
be a bitch about it.
Okay. See you next week.
Love you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode. We put out new episodes every single Wednesday, and if you're impatient like me, be sure to become a Patreon where you can get your episodes early each week. For as little as $2 a month, you not only significantly support the production of this podcast, but you'll also get extra benefits and perks for being one of our special Patreon weirdlings. Go to patreon.com/threesacrime for more information. For all of our links related to our socials, affiliate codes, where to listen, and everything else, go to linktree/threesacrime.